I've learned a long time ago, you can't try and impress haters or try and change their mind. When you're in show business, some people are going to like you and some people aren't. It's just the way that it goes, and that's fine.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in the legend Chris Jericho, Fozzy, AEW, and a million other things. How are you doing, my friend?
Enjoying a Sunday afternoon talking to wonderful people such as yourself.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You are on the road, I assume in the tour bus, on the road with Fozzy. We just caught the tour, headline tour. How's it going out there?
It's good, man. Yeah, the tour's been going great. Gosh, it seems like 100 years ago that we were in New York, but we're in Texas now and things are rolling good.
Awesome. Yeah, we heard all good reviews from the show. People can check our review out. We'll link everything in the description below. Where to get the new Fozzy album Boombox coming out soon. That's what we're going to talk about mostly today. Super pumped. I know people always say, oh, it's 5 years since Judas, which was a tremendous record, but it's not like you've been doing nothing for 5 years. Tours and cruises and your wrestling career and acting and other things. So,
Pandemics.
Pandemics, things that throw a wrench into life,
Right.
family, important stuff. So it's not like you haven't been completely busy even during the downtime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
well, the, th-
you're great.
the thing about I mean, you know, think it's been 5 years since Judas, but like you said, there was kind of a little bit of an 18-month detour there that the whole world had to take. And we didn't want to release Boombox in the middle of a pandemic, like some bands put out records, because it just kind of came and went. And we didn't want that. This record is too good. And we had so much momentum from the Judas album. So, yeah, it's been 5 years, but has it really? I mean, the original plan to call this record was 2020, kind of going off of the Van Halen 1984 thing. And then we realized, like, well, fuck, we can't even record this thing. It's not going to be called 2020. So, had there been no pandemic, this might have been out a couple of years earlier, but there was. And either way, this is the right time to put it out now in May of 2022, even though the record has been ready since May of 2021. So, like I said, we just didn't want to put all the work and take away the momentum that we've gotten from Judas. So we waited, and here we are. And now the time is right.
Right on. Seems like you made the right move. It is a killer record and a fun record. I think that's what people need right now is a lot of riffs and fun. That's just my personal, just after
Well, I
been
mean,
a very tough time.
I wouldn't go and say it's look what the cat dragged in or anything like that, but it is, I mean, it just kind of continues where Judas left off in that it's, there's some dark themes on it, but it's a very catchy record. It's very groove oriented, very heavy with a lot of pop sensibilities to it. And that's kind of where we're at right now as a band. We got a lot of success on radio over the last few years. And I never realized how important radio is until we started getting success on radio. It means everything. When you play in New York City, for example, there's no rock radio station. It's really weird. LA's the same. Chicago's the same. You go play in freaking Houston, Texas, and the building's sold out because radio's promoting the show. So um, we wanted to continue with the vibe that we started on Judas. And like I said, I think it was the next logical step of Boombox. It's not the sequel to Judas as far as being a twin of it, but it is the next logical step of where the band is going after Judas was so big for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And congratulations, you guys just received a gold record for Judas, which is not a small feat in this day and age.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a dream come true, to get a gold record at any time frame of the rock business is huge. But for us to get that now in 2020, when people aren't buying music like they used to, and to do 500,000 units sold or the equivalent thereof, including streams as well, it's amazing. I don't know a lot of bands that get gold records. I mean, I was in a radio station the other day looking at the at the wall, and Metallica Hardwired had a platinum record on the wall. I'm like, that's fucking Metallica. You know what I mean? Like, that's 1 million records sold by Metallica. Fozzy has 500,000 records sold. There's a little bit of a difference in sizes in the bands, as you can tell. So it meant a lot to us. And it really, I think, put the last stamp of approval on our band for anybody that doesn't like us. And doesn't mean they're going to like us because we have a gold record, but you can always say, well, okay, you don't like us, but you can take our gold record and shove it up your ass.
Right on, right on. I mean, this is you have a very unique position where you were super famous in wrestling before you were a famous rocker and metal. Always been a metalhead, and your adoration for the genre is well known, and you're always great at promoting younger bands and hailing the heroes, which is always important. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know if people dislike the band because of you and wrestling and your fame and just your status in entertainment, or they're just haters in general. I
I
can't
mean,
personally tell. You are a lightning rod.
well, I've learned a long time ago you can't try and impress haters or try and change their mind. When you're in show business, some people are going to like you and some people aren't. It's just the way that it goes, and that's fine. I don't worry about that. I don't really care for EDM music. you know, I don't think that you know Dua Lipa really gives a shit what Chris Jericho thinks. I care about the fans that like Fozzy. I care about the fans that haven't heard Fozzy, because that's how the band grows, about making new fans. The ones that don't like us, that's fine. It's your right, and that's okay. So we really want to make sure that we continue to build our fan base, and the best way to do that is by growing the band and getting our band in front of people that have never really heard us or aren't as familiar with Fozzy. And I think we've been doing a really good job of doing that, especially over the last 5 years.
Nice. And yeah, that's the whole goal of every band, to continue to grow. And
Sure,
even
of
during
course.
this big global hiccup, the way most bands make money is to tour and sell records and be up in front of people and have VIPs and meet people and play for crowds. And that's how bands make money. And the last couple of years have been brutal. And obviously, look, that's just the microcosm of the whole world. And obviously, I hope you and everybody in the band and your peers and collaborators are all okay, because it's been a wreck, everybody. But yeah, man, this is what we need right now. It looks like shows and tours are coming back. Looks, cruises came back, so you got to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, that wrestling is big as ever, maybe bigger than ever. So these are great things. We need the distraction,
Well, I mean,
frankly. We
we've
need the
seen kind of
relief.
how it's evolved over the last 6 months, even touring. And it's actually really interesting right now. Something that's going on that hasn't happened in a long time is walk-ups, is what it's called, where people are buying tickets basically a couple days before the show, even hours before the show. I mean, we were in New Orleans the other day, and we had double the tickets sold uh, at the end of the show that we did the day before. In 24 hours, ticket sales doubled. That's never happened before. And every night it's 30%, 40%. Because I think people are waiting. Is the band going to show up? Is the show going to happen? Are murder hornets going to come from the sky and carry us away? And when they realize that it's not happening, they're coming to the gigs. And, it's not just us. I mean, everybody is out now. We were off last week and I saw Journey, The Cult, and Elton John all in successive days. um, Everybody's out and people are showing up, and it's a good time right now. So, rock and roll is built on the live show. And that's, once again, going back to what I've said many times already in this interview. We didn't want to release a great record that we couldn't go and tour on. And that's why we waited until now. And it's been amazing. I mean, we were out in September, October of 21. We went to the UK in November, December, which was the biggest UK tour we've ever had. We sold out every show. It was huge. And that's because, people are ready and they're excited, and it's, we're back to whatever the new normal is, but the new normal contains plenty of live rock and roll, which is amazing.
Thank goodness, too.
Yes.
Of course, Boombox, right? So this is right around the corner. First album from Mascot Label Group, terrific label with great artists, and the album's full of bangers. A couple of ballads, but mostly raging. And I think it's
Yes.
what people will, like you said, the next level up from Judas.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it is a extension of the Judas record. Um, and It's exactly what we wanted to do. And it's not like we wrote these songs because of a lockdown or because of a pandemic. They were done prior to it, pretty much. we were just able to hone them and work with them a bit, sculpt them a little bit more. So yeah, it's like I said, it's the time is right, the record is right, the band is right. It's full steam ahead from this point on.
And after 20 plus years in a band, I'm sure you did music before that. Obviously, you continue to evolve and change as a singer. There's a lot of different flavors and things on here and vibes on here. I don't hear a lot of studio trickery. I don't hear any auto tune. I don't hear a lot of double tracking. I just hear a lot of Jericho, a lot of just straight up takes. Man, sounds real good.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, obviously, when you're in the studio, you use whatever kind of treatments and tricks that you need. But at this point, we really don't need a lot because we do, we have it down to a science as far as what my wheelhouse is and what my capacities as a singer are. And I think I've really been able to hone in on those and focus in on it. And in the early days, you would sing it line by line, and now we sing it song by song, and you keep the best parts and maybe like, okay, this is 80% great. Let's just tweak that one a little bit because the performance is what counts. So yeah, we recording it during the lockdown was cool, and I'm really happy with the vocal on the record because there's a lot of emotion. I mean, I Still Burn is probably the most emotional song I've sang. And there's still some great bangers as well, as far as just being able to scream and yell and all that sort of stuff. So the record turned out exactly the way we wanted it, and we were able to like I said, wait for the right time, and now we've got it. So
Right on. And obviously, you have this very long running relationship with Rich, right? We love Rich here, huge fans, and the guy is just insane with the riffs and songs and parts. And so, what I wanted to ask is, after all this time, again, 2 decades plus working together, it's like, has that relationship changed? Or you guys kind of read each other's minds now and finish each other's
well, I
sentences?
mean, we learned a long time ago to let each other do what we do best and not try and cross the streams. Also, on the Judas record, we started working with Johnny Andrews, and Rich and I both said, let's give Johnny the captain's chair. He's in charge, and it's not about Rich and Chris debating what to do anymore. It's Johnny Andrews has the final say. It was hard at first. It's like, James and Lars working with Bob Rock the first time. Like, who is this guy and who does he think he is? And then you realize, well, he knows what he's doing. He knows rock radio like the back of his hand. So let's give him the say. And like we said, Judas was a huge success, and we wanted to do the same thing with Boombox. So Rich and I's relationship is been amazing for years, but we both respect each other and both respect what each other does for the band. And he doesn't do what I do in Fozzy, and I don't do what he does in Fozzy, and we both appreciate the other for doing that. And I think that's another reason why we're so successful is, at this point in time in our world, we are Mick and Keith, and we are Steven and Joe, and we are Steve Harris and Bruce Dickinson, and James and Lars. And I think a band has to have that, two visionaries who've really found a way to work together for the greater cause, which is the band.
Nice. Hopefully, there's no performance therapist coming in and hanging out in the studio. I have
we went
never
through that. We
finished
went
that movie, but
Yeah, we went through that phase years ago, and we got over it pretty quickly.
thank goodness. Yeah, it's not could not possibly be good for everybody, but
Yeah.
can't argue with 40 years of Metallica either.
Nope.
They know what they're doing, at the
Absolutely.
least.
They sure do.
They definitely sure do. So yeah, man, I love this record's killer. Like I said, you said I Still Burn, Sane. Ugly on the Inside is a lot of fun. I feel like that would be a great song live. And of course, I have to bring up the Frankie Goes to Hollywood cover of Relax, which is one of the bangers of the 80s in terms of pop songs. And you guys, turned it into kind of a heavy metal song, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's funny because we had played that on the second Jericho cruise, and just watching the reactions of people live, and obviously with Rich and Billy on guitar for that song, it's got a much heavier, almost industrial feel to it. And we thought that really worked well on the cruise. Let's record it and see what happens. And it just turned out amazing. And we thought, let's put it on the album, man. A few records ago, we did a cover of SOS by ABBA. It took people by surprise, and they loved it. And Relax is the same. It's a song you wouldn't expect to be covered, but when you hear it, everyone knows it. It's almost like a trance music of just dun 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 dun. And it's one of the highlights of the live set already. And like I said, it hasn't even been released yet officially. So we're really, really happy with that song. And I think it's going to be, in a Fozzy live set for many years to come.
Amazing, amazing. I can't wait to hear it myself in person. I cannot wait. The 80s was a weird time. Even the one hit wonders had like phenomenal, pristine production, which I can't say the same about the 90s.
Yes, exactly. Right.
So, yeah, it's good times. And yeah, it does. It definitely, the rest of the record is still strong. It's not like the cover makes the record. Not one of those situations at all, but it is a really standout, fun song.
Yeah, I agree.
Right on. Just in general, so you're out on the road and you got like a lot of touring lined up. And how do you? I mean, I don't know when you sleep, man. Like between everything, you got your hand in the podcast still, and just everything.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just what I do. I mean, when you're on the road, you got a lot of time to kill during the day. And that's why I always do a lot of interviews and, have a lot of stuff going on because of the podcast. I mean, it's the perfect time to talk to people when you're here just killing time. So it's really worked out well for me, both from a wrestling standpoint and from a music standpoint, from a travel standpoint. You go from town to town, who's in town that I can talk to. And, it's one of those things that the Talk is Jericho has become a staple in the podcasting world. And I enjoy doing it and it's a lot of fun and I'll continue to do it.
Yeah, you were one of the first actually big stars to have a podcast in the
Well, and
scene.
that's why my show has done so well because I started it in 2013 prior to the podcast boom. It was almost a pioneer in that world. And because I've been able to cultivate it and keep it very diverse, it has become, like you said, a very big hit. And it's fun for me. I enjoy doing it.
Awesome, and you're good at it. Not a lot of people are,
Thank you.
so it's good that you got.
Thank you.
I enjoy those interviews, including the ones not, especially not with rockers, because that's obviously a given. You meet a lot of people in the scene all the time, but when you talk to people outside, like, or just outside of rock and metal, I love those just as much or more. Like Bob Mould, that was one of the recent ones I really dug a lot. And yeah, man, wrestling doesn't ever take a day off. You obviously your return to AEW, you're big, so we're charting this epic arc of your career, and AEW's been just insane for you and a lot of fun. And yeah, man, what's that? How do you balance those things? Obviously, like I said, wrestling they never take a day off or second off.
Well, I mean, we never take a day off from Fozzy either. The good thing with AEW is we only wrestle on Wednesdays. So all of our tours are, Thursday through Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday off. So I either go home for a couple of days or I go home for a day and then go to AEW on the Wednesday. So it actually is the perfect schedule for me. I couldn't have done this 5 years ago working for WWE, but with AEW, it's the perfect schedule and the perfect way to do it. So but they're telling me I got a split, man. I got another call at 2:25. So
No worries, no worries. Just for a final thought, if you'll permit me, I love to
sure.
know if you could book a match with any wrestler, living or not. What match would you book?
Probably be with either Bret Hart or Owen Hart. I mean, there's such a story there with our, being from Canada, and I trained with his family, and both of them were huge influences on me, and I never got to wrestle either one of them. So I went to WWE right after Owen Hart passed away. And when I was in WCW, I was so far down the food chain, I was never even in the ring with Bret. So um, those would be the two. If I'm ever going to play a wrestling video game, it'll be Jericho versus one of the Hart brothers.
Amazing, amazing. Chris, man, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you,
time
brother.
today. Boombox from Fozzy comes out soon on Mascot Label Group. Be safe out there on the road, bro. We'll see you soon. Thanks for hanging with
Thanks,
Ghost
man.
Hope.
Bye.